Hi everyone, welcome back. Welcome if you're new. This is Stephanie and this is Stephanie Builds Wealth. I created this YouTube channel to document my experience as a first generation American, learning about money and the things that I wish someone had told my parents about, understanding our relationship with money, why we do what we do. And if any of this seems like something that you'd be interested in, feel free to like, subscribe, share. All these things help the algorithm, and that's basically the new world order's currency is algorithm. So that being said, we're gonna go ahead and do a update. I did not get to do this for last month. I believe now I'm in a place where I have a new time management schedule, where I have transitioned from my old job to my new one, and I have most of the new learning curve things handled, and I've got a good work-life hours versus, time I have to study, time I have for physical therapy, time I have for myself, time I have for being social. It doesn't feel so overlapped and overwhelming anymore. Everything is much more calm. So we're gonna go ahead and get caught up on some numbers and then have a little chat and then see where we're at, okay? This is September's mantra. I am wired for success. And as I've mentioned before, I can say things like this and I have no pushback in my body. There's no little inner dialogue. Everything is in alignment in my body with the words that I'm saying and then the reality that I'm creating for myself. So let's see, let's go ahead and get caught up on some debt updates. Here we are for September 2024. And isn't it wild that we have a quarter left before we are into officially 2025 and making new moves in 2025? So this is still the same from my previous upload, is that I broke down my debt between zero interest, whether it's temporary or paid off at the end of the month, to low interest debt, which would be anything that's 0% to 7%. And this is done based on the return of the market. So this kind of helps me gauge what I need to focus on and where it would make sense putting things and not putting things. High interest debt, which is anything 7% and above, typically credit cards or loans with really awful terms. Update, my credit union credit card balance was paid off. The amount that didn't get rolled over into the US Bank zero interest transfer for the next 18 months. The balance that didn't get on that card was paid off. So one more down. Discover 2 is gone as well. And I'm telling you, I was able to pay that balance off of $2,400 in 3 paychecks. I mean, within an eyelash. I mean, I had an eyelash of wiggle room there. I was able to get the payment submitted to Discover, have it posted literally by the morning that the zero interest introductory period expired. I mean, that was tight, folks. That was tight. So now that I'm focusing on, now that I have paid off Discover 2, we're gonna play around with that velocity banking, but instead of me taking out a line of credit against my house, which to me is insane, using your house as collateral for any type of debt, I'm gonna use a credit card that I know how to manage. I know exactly how much is gonna be on it. So now that I've paid off Discover 2 and I freed up that $2,400 between the month of August, right? Yeah, so it was 3 paychecks. So it was the 2 paychecks in August and then the first paycheck in September. I was able to focus all of that cash flow to pay off Discover 2. All of my monthly expenses that could be taken out of my checking account, I put them on my Capital One card. Now that this is paid off, I'm gonna focus the rest of September and October to getting the balance down to 0 on that card, which should be pretty quick. And then we're gonna pivot back around and I'm going to knock out US Bank. I'm not talking about Apple because this will be paid off by the end of the month. So that's gonna be gone by next month. So the next focus is going to be US Bank, and then we're gonna piggyback and focus on Capital One, to pay that down to zero. And then we're gonna focus on mattress, the balance of the Mattress Firm card. And then once I have all these paid off by December, I should be able to take care of Apple, US Bank, the mattress by December. And then what we're gonna do is once I have that cash flow freed up, I'm gonna go ahead and focus on my car so that that'll give me a lot more cash flow. Again, pay down the credit, the Capital One card, and then I'm going to powerhouse getting the upgrade 1 handled, and then the upgrade 2, and then knock out the 2 student loans that I have. So that's the plan. So, and I've done the math. I'll be able to pay off the Apple, US Bank, and the Mattress Firm card by the end of December. And then starting January 2025, I did very conservative numbers, but ideally we should go from when we started our restart again, from $75,720.41 down to $63,440.43. That is a big chunk of change paid back to creditors within a 4.5 month time frame. So I'm really happy about that. This is the balance with all these fields left. Previously it was 75, now we're at 72 and some dollars. That actually isn't accurate because I paid off Discover One. There was a balance on here that I forgot about because I didn't have it on auto pay. So there was a balance, but gone. So this is technically 70 something. Let me get a calculator and double check. All right, let's see. Let's get these numbers accurate. So let's see, 72,036.16, so 72,036.16 minus, what is this, 121.47. Ah, okay, good. We're actually at $71,914.69. That is a huge jump in the last 3.5 months. I am 100% confident that I will be able to knock out the Apple, US Bank, and the Mattress Firm card by December. And ideally, conservatively, I will be able to bring the balance of 71 down to 63 by December. And being conservative means that I am basing this off of just my income, no other side hustles, no unexpected windfalls, not selling anything on Marketplace. I do have things listed on Marketplace. I do have things listed on Etsy. We have 3.5 months left in the year. I imagine that we can get there, no problem. Let's see. And we haven't done an update on retirement. Again, I was in a bit of a transition between my old job and my new job. I did cash out my Roth for my previous job. It was almost $800. It was $800 and some change. And instead of using that to roll over into my new company's Roth, I decided, you know what? I did the math. The 10% penalty fee for using it before for early withdrawal was $80. So I thought, you know what? I'm perfectly fine paying the fees on that when it comes time for taxes. If the ROI is I have to pay $80 worth of fees to be able to change my financial situation more impactfully now, then I'll go ahead and do that. I did not do anything with my 401k. I wasn't able to transition it over until the new address was on file for a minimum of 25 days. So I was able to start the transfer process on Friday of last week. The balance that I had for my old company, they're cutting a check and they're sending it to Fidelity Investments. And so that amount should reflect into here, maybe by the end of September. I would guess by the next pay cycle. So by pay cycle number 2, this should be reflected in there. I was having a 3% being taken from my paycheck, but because I do my numbers so far ahead, I realized that was going to be a problem. So temporarily, I have gone ahead and suspended anything out of my paycheck for my 401k. I currently am in the process of transferring $1,600 plus into this account. Even though I'm not giving 3% and they're not matching me 3%, the $1,600 that is temporarily suspended for the next 3 months wouldn't come close to the transfer that's happening now. So let's just say, for example's sake, okay, we'll do, let's see, times 0.3 is 3, should be 3,000. So 3,000 divided by 24 pay cycles. So that would be 125 a month. So if we do 125 times 2 times 3, so let's say times 2 pay periods times 1 to 3 months. Yep, it doesn't hurt me in the sense that I'm not contributing 3%, because in October, November, December, it would only accumulate to $750. And I understand that the employer match would be 3%, so it would match that. However, I only keep that if I stay with the company for a minimum of 5 years, and then I'm fully vested, which means that the money that the company matches actually is technically mine. Right now, because I'm not fully vested with the company, the only money that actually is accountable in that is mine, is the money coming out of my paycheck. So suspending my contribution to my 401k for the next 3 months from my paycheck currently would equal $750. I am currently in the process of transferring a balance of a little over $1,600 into this. And so by the time that January starts, I will go back to my 3% match. And my goal, I'm really trying to push this. It really does just depend on how much progress I can get done between now and the end of December, that I have more wiggle room to free up more money from my paycheck. Ideally, my goal is I want to get to 6%, because that is where the company stops matching. So I'm okay with doing that temporarily. And if the math helps people understand, maybe they're in that situation, that's why I shared it. It's not because I'm trying to justify myself. I'm a visual learner, and actually putting pen to paper helps me figure things out. Stock dividends went up. I think we were at like $7 or something a couple months ago, to now we're at $47.74. Long term, I would absolutely love to get to a point where I have 100 shares of the stocks that I have. Those dividends, they would come back so quick. I'll be able to make way more than $47.74 in the past, I would say 2.5 months, 3 months since I've done this. And then let's see. I already have a plan for the second and last payday for September. I should have a very hefty extra amount of money to go towards the Capital One. So that is pretty much it for any current updates, the debt updates that we have, the investment updates, and the goals and hopes and dreams and aspirations that I have. I really do hope that people find this very inspiring, that, you know, I went from being in a very bad spot financially at the beginning of the year to within 5 months being able to get my dream job. I mean, an absolute dream boat of a job, and do the work to make sure that I can not only excel at this job, but impress for the following year, getting those certifications and credentials and adding it to my title at work. You can do it, folks. It takes work. It takes a great deal of sitting down and planning. And sometimes you even have to reverse engineer it, right? So if you have a goal of something, you might have to write down the goal and then work it backwards and out to figure out how the steps to get there. And then as you work on it, more things become clear. And then achieving that task seems so much more realistic than just deciding to one day do a thing and then constantly hit roadblocks and fail because you don't know exactly what you're doing. And there's a very big difference between just hitting a wall and failing or productively failing. Productively failing is you fail with the intention that you know you're going to fail, but you need that fail so you can learn what you're not supposed to do and then come to a solution to go to the next step. Hitting a wall and just failing is just, what is that saying? It's, what is it? Lack of planning is planning to fail. So something like that, you know, like if you just decide to have this dream and you don't have really any roadblock to get there, like roadmap to get there, it can seem almost like you're working against yourself. Whereas I know I needed to get to this point and there was pieces of information that was missing. So you have to know you're going to fail, because once you get that, and now you know. Something that I did want to share though, and this is something that, you know what, I did not put my sinking funds on here. That's what we're missing for the page that comes after the investments tracker, is the sinking funds tracker. So I will tell you this though. I noticed that once I was in a place to start playing around with my sinking funds again, because money was so tight before I was doing this little velocity hack here. And that is, again, still pending. I'm still playing around with it to see if this is sustainable long term. I don't know yet. I'm experimenting on myself. I noticed that there is a scarcity mentality that is in my body where I feel like I need to rush to get to the savings goals. And I say that because when you have experienced a great deal of financial insecurity and you get your sinking funds either filled or halfway there, something unrelated happens where you end up having to deplete all of your sinking funds for not the intended purpose. And then you try to save, and then whatever you saved, you end up spending, and it's this vicious cycle. It's for me, it was because I had an income problem. I did not make enough to pay all of my expenses and then have the luxury to save, which it is a luxury. Not everybody can do that. And I learned from that is that I felt this rush to, when I did have some liquid money at that moment, I would try to put it, I would put it into one of my savings accounts, and then realized a week later, that's not going to work. I have to take that money back out because I don't have enough liquid money per month to get me through to the next one. And so I am doing a very painful exercise where I am forcing myself to put $100 into my emergency fund every paycheck until it's funded to about $3,000. Ideally, I would like 35, but realistically, 3,000 is fine. I need to put that 500 towards the debt payoff, the bigger picture, not just the immediate one. And it is a really interesting experience because I was going through my expense tracker and I was highlighting all of the charges that had gone through. and I have 2 charges left until the next payday cycle. And right away, when I see that I have that $200 in the emergency fund, I start calculating ways I can put it towards paying this off or paying that balance down. And it is a really interesting experience to be in my body and actively know why I'm doing that and how it feels to be actively rewriting that neural pathway in my brain to stop having that response in my body that you have $200 in your emergency savings. Technically, you can put that $200 to XYZ. And it's a weird feeling to know that that is an old program in my body that hasn't left yet. And to, when that comes up, immediately tell my body, take a breath. It's okay. The $200 is going to stay in the emergency fund, because if you keep taking things out, you will have no emergency fund. And when you have a true emergency, which is inevitable when you either have kids, cars, you have children, you have health issues in the family, it is inevitable that you will have a true emergency. So I'm experiencing a lot of uncomfortable growth, rewiring my brain so that when I put that $100 every paycheck, that's automated, by the way, so I don't touch it, no hands in the cookie jar. I have automated that $100 from every paycheck to go into my emergency fund, which will be fully funded by the end of the year. Not fully funded, but halfway. And every time I log into my account to see what charges have gone through so I can update my expense tracker, every time I log in to see it, I see that $200 in my emergency savings, and my brain, I get this response in my body where I want to just throw it into a category somewhere. And as that's happening, I'm aware that it's happening. I know why it's happening. And then I have to be intentional to rewrite that program to tell my body and my brain, it's fine. The $200 is not going to go anywhere. It's going to stay here. And we're not going to use our savings funds or any of our savings accounts as an additional checking account and just keep taking money in and out of it. We're not doing that anymore. We're done with that. And I know I'm not the only person who's experiencing that. I know it. I know there are millions of people out there who are transitioning from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset that is fighting that exact same feeling. And it's weird and uncomfortable, but it's really important to sit with it and have a little chat internally, that inner dialogue with yourself, and say, body, I understand why you're feeling this way. I know that it's a scare response. I know that it's a fear response, scarcity response, but we're not living in that anymore. We're in abundance now. And yes, I get it. We're in a lot of debt and a lot of things can happen, but right now we're leaving that alone. And we're just going to let it sit there, and we're just going to close out of our apps and we're going to leave it alone. I feel you. I know it's uncomfortable. We're going to get through this. And I'm going to report back on this and how that feels and a few other things that I'm noticing. But that is what I wanted to share with you now for this pay cycle. I believe the next pay cycle that I get will be on the 17th. Usually I get paid early with my banks because I don't know why you wouldn't get paid early anymore. We're almost to 2025. So the 2 banks that I have, they pay early. Usually it's Wednesday, sometimes it's Tuesday. I just want to manifest and say a day early. Sometimes it happens. If I don't get it by Tuesday, I will get it by Wednesday for that pay week. And then we're going to go ahead and do our end of the month update once everything clears in October. All right. Well, thank you so much for spending part of your day with me. I will see you on the next video. Bye.